Here is everything two men knew before they walked into a bank in Hinesville, Georgia, on a Friday afternoon in 2003. They knew the branch had two tellers. They knew the branch manager was a woman in her 50s who would cooperate quickly if she saw a gun. They knew that branch's Friday afternoon cash reserves from a contact who had worked there 8 months earlier. Here is what they did not know. It was payday Friday at Fort Stewart, and the 3rd Infantry Division had been home for 11 days after 9 months in Iraq. You have to understand the context of June 2003 to understand this story. The 3rd Infantry Division, the Rock of the Marne, was the tip of the spear for the invasion of Iraq. They were the ones who drove tanks into Baghdad. They crossed the berm on March 20th, and they didn't stop moving for 21 days. By the time major combat operations were declared over, the 3rd ID had traveled further, fought more engagements, and moved faster than almost any ground force in the history of mechanized warfare. In early June of 2003, they came home to Fort Stewart, Georgia. 11,000 soldiers, 11 days home, first payday. On the Friday in question, a significant number of those soldiers are in the town of Hinesville running errands, cashing checks, and doing the things that human beings who have been in a desert for 9 months do when they are suddenly, briefly, free. Among them, several non-commissioned officers from the 3rd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, attached to the 3rd ID on this rotation. Men who have been in more firefights in the past 9 months than they can easily count. They are not on duty. They are in civilian clothes. They are cashing deployment checks and buying things for their families. 3 of them are in the Wells Fargo branch on East Oglethorpe Highway at 2:14 p.m. when 2 men walk in wearing ski masks. The 2 men who walk into the Wells Fargo branch have a clean operational concept. Marcus Webb, 26, and his partner Devin Sills, 24, have done this once before at a smaller branch in Brunswick. That job took 6 minutes and produced $4,200 in cash. Clean, efficient, no complications. Their plan for the Hinesville branch is identical in execution. Webb enters first, announces the robbery, directs customers to the floor. Sills moves behind the counter to compel the tellers to open the drawers. Expected cash, $15,000 to $20,000 based on their intelligence. Expected resistance, 0. Because in their experience, people don't resist. They drop to the floor and wait for it to be over. Webb enters the branch at 2:14 p.m. and raises his weapon. He makes the announcement. He watches the room. Most people drop. 3 people do not drop. Staff Sergeant Daniel Kowalski, not his real name, is cashing a check for $2,800 in back pay. He is 28 years old. He has been in the Army for 7 years, the last 4 in the 75th Ranger Regiment. He has been shot at more times than he cares to count. To his left is Sergeant First Class Tony Breckenridge, 34, the platoon sergeant, who is there for reasons that have nothing to do with the bank and everything to do with the fact that Hinesville is a small town and Rangers tend to cluster on errands. Behind them, still waiting in line, is Staff Sergeant Ray Castillo, 27, who has been awake for 27 hours for no particular reason, other than his body still hasn't adjusted to being in a time zone where the sun is up when the sun is up. When Webb makes his announcement, these 3 men do the same thing, nearly simultaneously. They look at each other. Then they look at Webb. Then they look at Sills, who has moved behind the counter and is shouting at the tellers. Breckenridge, the senior man, the platoon sergeant, makes a very quick threat assessment. 2 men. He can see the body language. Young. Elevated heart rates. The one behind the counter is sweating through his ski mask. The one at the door is scanning too fast, covering too much arc, which means he's overwhelmed by sensory input. These men are scared. Breckenridge has never, in his life, been afraid of a scared man with a gun. He takes 1 step to his left, which puts a structural column between himself and Webb's line of sight. He says nothing. He does not announce himself. He does not escalate. He waits. The robbery lasts 47 seconds from the moment of announcement to the moment of intervention. Sills gets the first teller drawer open. He's grabbing cash. Webb is moving toward the vault door, pushing the branch manager. Kowalski, watching this from the floor where he went down purely to keep his profile low, has moved laterally 6 feet without anyone noticing and is now behind the counter's corner. Breckenridge moves from behind the column at the moment Webb's eyes go to the vault door. The one moment in a robbery where the threat assessment loop breaks because the robber is focused on the objective. What Breckenridge does next is not complicated. It is a compliance technique he has practiced several thousand times. It is, from his perspective, one of the least challenging physical situations he has been in since approximately 2001. Webb is disarmed and on the floor in under 4 seconds. Sills, still behind the counter, and suddenly hearing a very large, very calm man say, "Don't move, don't move, don't move," in the tone of voice that indicates the speaker has done this before and is not interested in negotiation, makes the correct decision and puts his hands up. Castillo, operating from approximately 8 feet away, picks up Webb's weapon and secures it. The branch manager is already on the phone with 911. Total time from announcement of robbery to apprehension of both suspects, 47 seconds. Hinesville police arrive in 4 minutes. Webb and Sills are turned over without incident. They are placed in a patrol car by officers who keep asking the 3 civilians in front of them, these men in jeans and t-shirts, who exactly they are. Breckenridge shows his military ID. One of the officers, a young guy, maybe 23, looks at the ID. Looks at Breckenridge. Looks back at the ID. "Are you guys, like, Rangers?" Breckenridge: "We were just cashing checks." The 3 of them walk back inside and finish their banking. Marcus Webb is convicted of 2 counts of armed robbery and sentenced to 11 years. Devin Sills receives a slightly reduced sentence for his immediate cooperation with investigators. Neither of them ever publicly discusses what happened inside that branch. I want to be clear about something. Breckenridge, Kowalski, and Castillo are not heroes in this story. They're just 3 men who happen to be in the wrong place, or, depending on your perspective, the right place, at the right time. They didn't plan to stop a robbery. They didn't go to the bank looking for a confrontation. But when the confrontation came to them, their response was shaped by years of training and experience that the 2 men with guns simply could not account for. Webb and Sills picked a location, scouted a target, identified the cash reserves. They did their homework. But they didn't know who was going to be in the room. And that's the variable that ended everything. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the button. Every story on this channel is real. Every story is this good, and there are more coming every week.